Good day, students. Welcome again to an exciting educational video today. This is Dr. Luisito Masanga at your service. Shout out and thank you very much to those students from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao who are faithfully and consistently watching my educational video. To these students, a warm round of applause to all of you. Mabuhay. Today, we are going to discuss about Michael Porter's 5 forces framework or theory. Our learning outcomes, at the end of the tutorial video, students will be able to understand the concept and principles underlying Porter's 5 forces in the industry competition. Students will be able to synthesize the different strategies on how to gain competitive strength and competitive position of a business organization. Porter's 5 forces framework of industry competition talks about the first in the center. It talks about rivalry among existing competitors. For example, in the industry of, let's say, food industry, manufacturing industry, service industry, electronics industry or semiconductor. So there are different industries in the business, and generally you are going to talk about competition, especially in that particular manufacturing industry, or let's say in semiconductor industry, you have a lot of major players. So these 5 forces helps us to assess what is our competitive position of our business organization and what is our competitive strength. So strength and position is very important for an entrepreneur or business organization to understand and comprehend. All right. And the second force is the threat of new entrants and the threat of substitute products or services. And then we have bargaining power of suppliers as well as bargaining power of buyers. This was developed in 1979 by Michael E. Porter. He is from Harvard Business School. You know, strategic analysts often use these 5 forces to understand whether a new product or services are potentially profitable. Because, you know, the business organization is there and the primary objective is competitive advantage and profitability. By understanding where the power lies, the theory can also be used to identify areas of strength, to improve weaknesses, and to avoid mistakes. And these 5 forces analysis helps organizations to understand the factors affecting profitability in a specific industry and can help to inform decisions relating to whether to enter a specific industry, whether to increase a capacity in a specific industry, and developing competitive strategies. So conducting Porter's 5 forces analysis is really one of the pillars in environmental analysis aside from pestle analysis. Okay? Let's go to the bargaining power of suppliers. We are talking here of a category type of market which is B2B or business to business. Meaning to say, if this is, let's say, a company, a semiconductor company, okay, and there is also a huge company that is supplying raw materials to this semicon company. So it's business to business. Okay. Now let's talk about this bargaining power. This bargaining power of suppliers is an assessment of how easy it is for suppliers to drive up prices. So this is the bargaining power of suppliers. They want, no, to increase the price of their product or service. As you all know, in the supply and demand curve, right? If this is price and this is quantity supplied, okay, you can see that these suppliers at a higher cost, they want to supply more quantity rather than if the price is here, they want to supply less quantity. So the bargaining power of suppliers is that they negotiate that their price should go up or increase. Now, there are many factors why the bargaining power of suppliers wants an increase. Okay? So this price increase is driven by the number of suppliers of each essential input. Second, uniqueness of their product or service. Third, relative size. Fourth is strength of the supplier and cost of switching from one supplier to another. Let's take, for example, these raw materials, like, for example, plastic resins, rubber, cold rolled steel sheets, copper, and ingots for aluminum. So these are sources or types of raw materials being used by manufacturers. Therefore, if you are the only sole distributor or source of these raw materials, then you have the bargaining power as a supplier because you are the only sole distributor or exclusive distributor for these particular raw materials. Or maybe you can bargain your price to go up because you have a differentiation in terms of how you position your product or your service. You are very unique. Or maybe you can produce this product with excellent quality. Like, for example, you can do an economies of scale wherein you increase your production volume, thereby reducing your average unit cost. So that is one strategy. But of course, the bargaining power of supplier, they want their product price or service at a high price. That is the bargaining power of suppliers. Now, if there are, let's say, for example, rubber, if there are so many major players in the market, then there is no factor for them to bargain an increased price. All right? So that is one, no? And it is advantageous for a manufacturing company if they can source different raw materials from different suppliers. So they do not like to put their eggs in a single basket. The third force is bargaining power of buyers. We can see here that the buyers are the consumer, the client, the demand, no? So if we talk about the demand curve, the law of supply and demand, we can see here that if, for example, this is the price at this point, okay, you can see, and we have here a second price which is lower, you can easily determine that at P1, the quantity demanded by the market is very small. Not unlike if the price is reduced, the quantity demanded by the consumer, by the buyers, are larger or great. So, what is the bargaining power of buyers? The bargaining power of buyers is how it is for buyers to drive prices down. Okay? Not unlike the bargaining power of suppliers, they want the prices to go up or increase. And opposite to that, the buyers, they want, because at a lower price, there are so many quantity that is being demanded. This is driven by the number of buyers in the market. Second, importance of each individual buyers to the organization. Number three is cost to the buyer of switching from one supplier to another. If a business has just a few powerful buyers, they are often able to dictate terms. No? So, meaning to say, here in the bargaining power of buyers, we can easily see, no, that at a lower price, the quantity demanded by the consumer is so many. No? Not unlike when the price is increased, the quantity demanded is just very negligible or few. That is the bargaining power of buyers. We are done with bargaining power of suppliers. We are done with bargaining power of buyers. So, with the bargaining power of suppliers, they want the price to go up, while this one, they want the price to go down. In the automobile industry, when you are, getting some spare parts, there are spare parts that is coming from Germany, coming from Japan, and there is coming from China. And basically, China products are very economical. They are very cheap. However, the quality suffers. But there are some vehicle owners, when they are doing preventive maintenance activities, they want to use, instead of the original spare parts like made in Japan or made in Germany, they want substitute product. They want a cheap price because the reasoning is it can, the economic life can be 1 year and then they are going to replace it. But in the long run, in long-term analysis, it will also be equivalent to that spare parts that is coming from Germany or Japan, because you are going to pay your mechanic every year, not unlike if you use a genuine parts, the economic life of the item will last long. And this is the threat of substitute products or services. Okay? This one. Okay. This substitute product exists in a market, it increases the likelihood of customer switching to alternatives in response to price increases. And that is very true. No? If there is really substitute products, okay, most likely consumers will go to the substitute product because of the price. Like what I gave you an example, automobile vehicle owners. Okay? So this is the threat of substitute products. And if you are, the original supplier of this item, okay, and there are so many substitute products available in the market. So consumers will really compare the price because consumers at this point in time are price conscious. No? And if you are the original product, maybe your bargaining power is that quality. So if there is a car owner who is sensitive about quality, premium product, they will buy original. But if you are just, let's say, a vehicle owner that is public utility vehicle, maybe there is a strong probability that you will avail of this substitute product. The next force is the rivalry among existing competitors. What is the driver of this? The main driver is the number and capability of competitors in the market. Many competitors offering undifferentiated products and services. Undifferentiated product means to say these are identical products that is easily duplicated or easily substituted. So, however, this kind of practices will reduce market attractiveness. So, there could be, let's say, identical product, let's say salt. There are many brands, there are many competitors, there are many players in this kind of product, which is an undifferentiated product, and it can easily be substituted by other brands, no? Like for example, in supermarkets, there sugar, let's say for example, there are so many brands. Even the brand of the supermarket is already identified in the shelves. So this is the rivalry among existing competitors. No? The last force is the threat of new entrants. Okay, this one. In the threat of the new entrants, profitable markets attract new entrants. That is true, which erodes profitability. Unless these incumbents have strong and durable barriers to entry, like for example, patents, economies of scale, capital requirements, or government policies, then profitability will decline to a competitive rate. Let's take, for example, for telecom, we have PLDT Smart and we have Globe. But that is good because there was a new entry in the telecom, which is a third party being requested or offered by our Philippine government, no? The third party. And now there will be really a competition, no? Rivalry among existing competitors. So I hope the services as far as Wi-Fi connectivity or internet connectivity is concerned next year, I hope this will improve. Okay? So this is the threat of new entrants. So the benefits of the Porter's 5 forces. No? Use this model where there are at least 3 competitors in the market. Consider the impact that government has or may have on the industry. Government intervention. Consider the industry life cycle stage. Earlier stages will be more turbulent and volatile. Consider the dynamic changing characteristic of the industry. And actions to avoid using the model for an individual firm. It is designed for use on an industry basis. So those are the best practices, do's and don'ts, or the pros and cons. Again, avoid using the model for an individual firm. It is designed for use on an industry basis, meaning to say, like for example, apples to apples, meaning to say the industry are all semicon industries. But do not compare your to other segment, a semicon to a food industry. That is a no. The case study was written by a head of the Chakra Consulting and a visiting professor of strategy at Christ University, Bangalore. He is Srikant Partaka Sarati. His case study is about, India's business environment. He used Porter's 5 forces. And according to Srikant, in India, the business environment, the endearing quality is cultural and linguistic diversity. So, as far as threat of new competition, the barrier is the government intervention, no? Because in India, like for example, Walmart in India, there's a lot of government regulations as far as this foreign company is concerned. With regards to bargaining power of suppliers, okay, in India, there are so many suppliers, sometimes neglecting already quality. No? Bargaining power of buyers, no? The buyers are not concerned about the price because what they know is that the price increase was brought about by the tariff regulation of the government. No? Availability of substitute goods, no? Or closest equivalent, the the endearing quality in India is that there are a lot, no, of substitute with regards to, let's say, chocolate. There is Mars, there is Cadbury, and with regards to competitive rivalry in India, according to Srikant, okay, the uniqueness, most industry is in India is dominated, no? Especially the top player in the industry. It is always dominated by 2 to 3 major players in that industry. So the 5 forces model was applied to the emerging Indian business environment in comparison with more developed markets. The analysis found that factors such as state protectionism and lack of infrastructure are the greater barriers to entry in India than they are in more developed nations where market forces are more powerful. The analysis highlighted many issues affecting competition in emerging economies and compared them to those that are more prevalent in more developed markets. One factor that could play a crucial role in India is public opinion, which exerts considerable influence on the government part. A good example of this is a campaign by local retailers against Walmart, who feel that the arrival of the U.S. retail giant could put them out of business. Walmart has made huge investments in India, but is having to find ways around stringent regulations that prevent it from doing things as basic as putting its private brand name on stores. So our references for this tutorial video are these two. Thank you very much for listening. Again, thank you for subscribing, sharing, and liking the channel. Till next time, keep always safe.